So hello again, welcome everyone, and hello again, Aletha. Welcome to again another one of our conversations about aware parenting. So glad that we're here.
Hello, it's good to be
Hello,
here.
yay! So for this one, we're really wanting to talk more about the effects of aware parenting, and we can talk a little bit
Okay.
about you being a grandparent, and a little bit about how it is for parents who are wanting to practice aware parenting and how that is with their parents. So talking about some of those things today. So
Okay.
shall we start? Because I really remember, and you may remember this when my daughter was little, and I was really wanting to know what would people be like if they were brought up with this approach without punishments and rewards and shaming and all of those things, and listening to their big feelings and finding ways to meet their needs and really working in that very cooperative way. And what on earth would they be like when they're grown up and when they're adults and when they're parents themselves? And I know you have experience not only with your own children, but parents that you've worked with who now their children are grown up and parents themselves. So I'd love to hear if you want to share about that, what you see in the next generation.
Yeah. Well, my own experience. My husband and I have a very close relationship with both of our children as adults, and I think that's probably the most important thing. We just feel very close, and we love spending time with them. They love spending time with us. And,
Yay!
we communicate well, and
Yes.
I think I've observed this, and also from what people told me, that I think the differences to children raised this way are most noticeable in men, in boys raised this way, because these boys who are raised with aware parenting, they grew up to be compassionate and they're not afraid of tender feelings and crying, and they're not prone to angry outbursts or violence like so many men are who haven't been raised this way.
Yes.
I mean, the world is full of compassionate women, but we need more men who are in touch with their feelings and who are compassionate. And it's partly the way that we raise boys.
Yeah.
And so I certainly see this in my son and my grandson, who's now 14. They're nice men. I mean, and that's what other people tell me too. They see that in their sons. And in terms of parenting, one thing that struck me with my son when he became parent was that he just seemed to come naturally to him, this approach. It didn't come naturally to me.
Yes.
I had to make an effort. Okay,
Yes.
crying, that's probably good. I need to listen. I need to listen, and like, okay, now how do you do this without punishment? And
Yes.
how do you get them to cooperate? It seems to come naturally to him. So because he was raised this way, and he doesn't get triggered by strong emotions, by his kids' strong emotions. And so I noticed that, actually I first noticed that when he was 5 years old and his little sister was born. And he just loved holding her when she cried. Yeah. He just held her and loved her and paid attention. And he totally got it,
Yes.
And that's when I had a first clue. I thought, oh, he's going to be a good father. He's going to be a good father, and he is.
So beautiful.
Am I bragging about him? But
I love your bragging about him.
I'm bragging about my kids.
Yay.
But other people are telling me the same things.
Yes.
It really does work. When they were growing up, I was already teaching this approach, doing workshops before they were grown up.
Yes.
And I didn't really know how they were going to turn out. And people kept warning me, oh, just wait till adolescence, just wait till the teenage years,
Yes.
You'll see, We just kind of sailed through the teenage years. This was, they didn't rebel. I mean, they didn't really have anything to rebel against. They grew up and became independent, but it didn't involve the clashes you hear so much about, these power struggles, you know.
Yes.
So I was really glad that I found the teenagers easier than the toddlers.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Yes, because it's like the foundations, isn't it? That's my experience.
The foundation was
all the
there.
foundations are there. Yeah.
Right. And I wasn't a perfect parent. Nobody is.
Oh,
I'm
certainly not. Yeah.
And you know, but the nice thing about this whole approach is that you can repair your mistake. You can help them heal. You can change. You can try something different.
Yes.
And you can have, if they're, you know, if they were angry at me, if I made a mistake, I tried time out with my son once. I mean, you know, and you know, you can repair these things.
Yes.
And they're not damaged forever, and you can still have a good relationship. So,
yeah. I love that, and I think it's so important to hear from you, because I think it can be so easy, can't it, for people to idealize and say, well, I'm, you know, and I'm not perfect, but no, none of us is, and it's an ongoing learning journey, isn't it? I often say as well, you know, each generation is evolving from the next. And I wonder if you're happy to share anything about your grandchildren, you know, second generation, having been raised in these kinds of ways. Is there, you know, what's that like? What do you see?
Oh,
my grandchildren share anything?
Fantastic. Of course
they are. Of course, yes.
All grandchildren are fantastic. No, mine are especially fantastic.
Of course they
because
are.
they're mine, right?
Yes.
No, they're really a delight. They are delightful. Yeah. About grandparenting.
Yes, I'd love to hear about that too.
It's actually, I love being a grandmother. It's actually, it's very different than being a parent. You know, I find it easier to play with them. I mean, I was pretty good playing with my own children, but my grandchildren, I find it even easier because I don't have to worry about anything else. I don't have to worry about, you know, the doctor and the dental appointments. I don't have to worry about their education. Bedtime, homework. I just play with them, you know, and it's so fun. It's really fun, and they don't live nearby, so we have a Skype relationship. But when we do see them, you know, about twice a year, it's for a good week at a time, and I just spend the whole week playing. I'm not sure I could keep that up if they live nearby, but it's just easy for me to just enjoy them that way.
So lovely. Yeah. Are you happy to share? Is there one particular kind of game or type of play that you really enjoy, or that you're happy to share with us?
I tried all these ideas in my book, Attachment Play, before I wrote the book. I tried them out on my grandchildren. I'm trying them out as they grow older. I'm trying to find out until what age these particular approaches work. You know? So, it's just a lot of nonsense play we've been doing, silly together, and they're older now. They're 10 and 14 now.
Yes.
But a lot of that.
Yeah.
What's in that book still works with teenagers.
Yes. Yeah. Just a bit, but particularly nonsense play. So silly and goofy and great. Oh, I love hearing. I'm looking forward to it. So similar thing. Oh, and do you want to say anything as well in terms of how you see the importance of grandparents and other extended family members in children's lives?
Yeah, I think grandparents are very important. Even when they're not aware grandparents. I mean, obviously they're abusive. No, you don't want to have anything to do with abusive grandparents. But, you know, if they're not perfect, that's okay, because children have a different relationship with their grandparents anyway than with their parents.
Yes.
And a different relationship with each parent.
Yes.
And you know, I think it's important for children to have that connection with their ancestors, you know, as much as possible. Just to feel a sense of belonging, a sense of family. This is my family. And you know, you learn we don't choose our families. There are families, and it's a good learning experience even when they're not perfect, other members of the family.
Yes, yeah.
And it's not the end of the world if the grandmother feeds the child to stop him from crying, and doesn't get it about crying. That's not the end of the world. Maybe that grandmother is much better than we are at reading the same story 20 times.
Yes. Yes.
So everyone has their strengths.
Yeah.
And weaknesses when it comes to relating to children.
Absolutely, I love that, and that really takes us into the next question I wanted to ask you, which is, and I'm sure you have this a lot too in the parents that come to you, is that parents often come and because they're wanting to practice aware parenting, doing so many things differently to how they were raised, and how challenging that can be sometimes, and how their parents can sometimes experience that as being judged, and it can be really tricky sometimes navigating.
It can be tricky, and some of the families who consult with me, they've chosen not to live near the grandparents because the grandparents were abusive or had the potential to be abusive or just didn't understand it. This approach. Others, do have the grandparents nearby, and one guideline is to, not try to talk about how to raise children in front of the children. Okay.
Yes.
And that's for couples, good guideline for couples too.
Yes.
Wait till they've gone to bed. Wait till you're alone together to talk about these issues, and certainly not when a conflict is happening. Wait till everyone's calmed down, and then I think what happens with grandparents, parents, and children was when our parents see us doing something differently than raising our children differently than how they raised us.
Yes.
They can feel criticized.
Yeah.
Even though we're not criticizing them with words, they're just saying, "Oh, she's doing it differently.
Yes.
Does that mean I did it wrong?"
Yeah.
They feel criticized. And some realize, this is better. Others, don't want to go with admitting that it is better, because then they'd have to feel guilty. Okay. And that's hard. And that's hard for anyone to feel that maybe, they could have done it.
Yeah,
So
it's hard, isn't it, to be with that? I find that for myself, to look back and to mourn what I didn't know, or what I didn't do, or what I didn't have the capacity to do, or what I did do that I wish I hadn't. So it's hard, isn't it?
If we can get to a place where we can actually appreciate our own parents for what they did do well, and we're here, we survived. They must have done something right. They must have fed us at least, right?
Yes.
Housing, clothing, even if we didn't get the emotional cues, even though they punished us, they did some things right.
Yes.
Some things well. If we can appreciate our parents for that, then we can just say, we have more information now about child development. I've learned some things. I'm trying it out with my children. It doesn't mean you did it all wrong, but bear with me while I try it this way with my children, and would you be willing to read this book or this article? And kind of just put in the context of appreciating them, if we can get to that point.
Yes. And I don't know about you, but I find often that can come with the journey, can't it? As we see, and we have challenging times ourselves as parents. I certainly found that the more compassion I then gained for my own parents, to see this is, it's not easy to with consciousness and compassion, and
it isn't
hard at times.
And often we can't get to that point until we have gone through the healing from our own trauma that our parents caused. We need to go through that.
Yes.
And we've all been damaged to a certain extent by our parents. Right? So we need to go through that healing, and then help us become better parents, but also help us be more compassionate. It's a journey.
It's such a journey, isn't it? That evolutionary journey, each generation. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much. I so appreciate hearing your experience, particularly as a grandparent, and as you develop this approach. So it's so helpful for me, and I'm sure so helpful for many people listening or watching. So thank you so much, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Yes, me too.
Thanks, Aletha.
Bye-bye.